Good evening, YouTube. So today we're taking a look at the tier list for bleed tag. You gave me some pretty good feedback on my last video with the tier list of poison, so I thought it could be nice to make a tier list for some of the other tags, or maybe all of the tags if that is something you'd like to see. And today we're taking a look at bleed. Now, as you can see here already in the bottom here, there are a lot more bleed heroes than there are poison heroes at the moment in the game, and I think bleed might be one of those tags with the most amount of heroes actually to pick from. But it also means that there are a lot of unusable heroes, or at least heroes that are not worth to use your resources on. So this guide here, this tier list here, is for the bleed tag. It's for PvE and PvP combined, so it's an overall list. It's my personal opinions on these heroes here, but I think I have a pretty good experience with the game, having played it for mostly around 2 years, and I do consider myself pretty experienced in what is good and what is not good at the moment, and also like what is good in early game, should you use your resources, all of that kind of thing. So let's just jump into it, guys. As you can see here, we've made a tier list with some colors in the side, and I think we should just jump out into this one here. Let's start with the one from the right here, Natalie. She is from the Dragon tribe, and she is not worth to spend any of your resources on. Not in early game, not in mid game or late game. She's not used anywhere. I actually think she had a cool design with some counters, like some bleed attacking, stacking, counter attack buff, but she never really got any use for anything. So don't bother level her up or use any resources on her. Now the next one on the list is Hera, and Hera is pretty much the same. Don't bother with putting your resources into Hera. She's not used anywhere in end game, mid game or early game, and not even faction abyss, because she is a sunset, and sunset has very strong ally like heroes for faction abyss already, and you can only have 5 heroes on your team. So Nita, Mamelo, even a what's his name, Elbeck, is a lot better to use than this Hera here. So Hera definitely in the don't bother category. Now we are getting on to some of the newer heroes here, and these are one of the fun ones. Morriz here is the next on the list, and let me just tell you something. Morriz was one of the, well, not the first power creep in the game, because that was Indra and Yanmu, but at least for bleed damage, Morriz was actually the first power creeping hero for the bleed tag. And I don't think it's that many months since she came out. This video here is December 24, and I think she came out like 3 or 4 months ago, maybe 5 months, maybe even less. Time is kind of weird, but she's so strong. She's a boss killer at exclusive 3. She buff allies with 40% attack if they have the bleed tag. She reduces speed on enemies, reduces attack on enemies. She even have a 50% bleed buff, bleed damage buff, and overall she's just a fantastic hero. Now I'm actually going to put her up here in the S plus tier, because I think she is well, she's an S+. She is just perfect for the bleed team. Now the next one here in line is also one of those heroes that have power crept the game, and it is Lance. Lance is a fantastic hero, and he's used in PvE and PvP, and if you get him early game, you should put every resource into him. Just give him all your legendary dragon eyes until he's exclusive 3. Give him your best gear, give him attack stat, mastery, tiny bit affected, and then just give him some speed and watch him annihilate the game for you. He is so strong. Now if we just go back to Morriz for 1 sec here, she's also very strong both in PvE and PvP, especially if you have her echo. Her echo is what enables her to do, like, to be a single solo DPS carry in PvP. If you do not have the echo, don't underestimate this one. If you don't have her echo at least 3 stars, so that you have the 120% or above damage on her echo, she cannot solo. She cannot. It's like it's not possible. I've seen people watching PvP videos, or even watching like just going into the ladder and looking at some of the top teams, and they're seeing Morriz is alone as a single solo DPS with maybe 4 support or something like that. That is because that person probably has a 5-star echo on her. And what the echo does is it's basically another skill of up to 180% damage. So if you have that echo, yes, then she can do it, because once she does her first ability, it's like doing 2 abilities, nuking everyone with AoE, and it's bleed damage, so it ignores defense and all that, right? But if you do not have the echo, or the echo is just a 0-star, she cannot solo in PvP. It's not something she can do. She's not strong enough. Just trust me. Anyways, back to Lance here. Lance is a fantastic hero. I'm gonna put him at S+ here. Fantastic hero. You should put everything into Lance. I love Lance. Lance is one of the best heroes in the game, and you can safely use your breakthrough materials on him as well if you have an abundance of those. If you are not swimming in breakthrough materials, obviously go with your LTEs first, like a Giselle, Ratu, Mori, maybe even the new Christmas hero, right? So, but Lance is up there. Next one on the line is Elina. Elina used to be pretty useful for the faction abyss and some bleed teams. One of the unique abilities with her is that she can actually make bleed, the debuff, like kinda keep stacking, because she makes it not drop off. So you will always have 10 stacks of bleed when Elina is in the game or in your setup, but she's not really doing much these days. I'm gonna put her at B tier. I do not believe she's not too bad, but she's not really A tier or S tier. So next one on the list here is what's her name? I forgot her name. One sec. Grace, obviously it's Grace. Goddamn. Next one is Grace here on the list, and she's a meta hero still. She's still in the bleed team, 5-man team in PvE. At least in most cases, so she's still very useful. One of the best abilities is obviously her exclusive tree, where she's increasing the duration of a buff, and she's cleansing, and she's shielding, and she's also healing, and she gives some effect hit buff and some other stuff. A very good hero. I'm gonna put her at A tier actually, and the reason for that is because you don't really use her in PvP. So I think to become an S tier hero, you need it needs to be someone that is used in both PvP and PvE. So I can only place her at A tier because she's a PvE hero and faction abyss, and I don't really see her being used in PvP. Next one is Valentina. Valentina is very nice as well. It's an elemental city hero, which means that it will take you around 5 or 6 months to get her to exclusive 5. If you start working on her and you clear the elemental city every time it's up. So it's a very long-term investment here in Valentina, and but she's very strong. She gives attack buff. She has some AoE freeze, and also she's buffing with a special, like, unique debuff on the enemies, where everyone is using or doing more bleed damage. So that's very nice. Valentina here. I think Valentina also an A tier hero. Can't put her at S tier because we don't use her in PvP. Next one is Alysia. Alysia used to be one of the best bleed damage dealers at some point in the game. She's also useful for faction stage 30, I think, for the Forgotten City. I think maybe people are still using her in Forgotten 30. So she's definitely a lot better than some of the other heroes here, but she's not used in PvP, and she's not used in like PvE 5-man teams. And when I say PvE 5-man teams, I'm thinking about like mid and end game. Once you've kind of established the team, there's only room for 5 heroes, right? And in Wuthering Coast and in Planet Rift and all those places there, if you have a Lance or you have a Morriz, or even like, there's no room for her, right? There's no room for her. So, but she's very good. I'm gonna place her at a B tier. I think she's around the same quality of Elina. Now the next one is Chardonel. Chardonel is also an interesting hero. He has a bleed debuff with 50% he can put on enemies, speed buff and attack down debuff as well, making him a very nice support hero. He's a tank hero here, but his support very good for Forgotten faction as well, for the faction abyss. He's still used some places in Wuthering Coast and in other bleed teams like the Uli boss, but he's not used in PvP. But I'm going to put him at A tier here. I think he's an A tier level hero. He's on the same level as these heroes here. Then we have Hisaru. Hisaru also used to be one of the best bleed heroes back in time. He's not really used anymore. I would say actually don't bother leveling him up. I know that he has the severe wound debuff, so I'm actually gonna put him at C tier, because if you are lacking severe wound in Planar Rift and you don't have any other options, then he might be better than nothing, right? So I'm going to put him there just because of that severe wound debuff that he has. Narc here is the next one on the list, and also very nice hero, can do some damage. Used to be also one of the best bleed damage dealers before we had Morriz and Lance. He's a defense type based hero. He has some nice debuffs and buffs for the team. I'm gonna put him up at A tier here. I still think he's very useful, and he's still used in Liuli bosses, I think, and maybe in Planar Rift, so very nice. Now the next one is kind of controversial here. It's Lukia, and we haven't seen her exclusive 4 yet. We've only had the exclusive 4 on Brunhild so far as of December 2024. And the next one on the list is Nordic and then Melchior, going by the vote or the voting poll that the developers did. So we don't know what Lukia's exclusive 4 rework will be. However, as she is right now, I would not go for any mythic shards on her. I would not level her up, I would not do her. I've used her. She's actually very hard to gear for, especially early game, because you want crit rate, crit damage, effect hit, attack, mastery. You want basically every stat in the game like to make her work. And so she's very hard to gear, and she's just not worth the effort. So I'm actually gonna put her at the B tier here. I honestly don't think she's much better than Alysia or Elina, to be honest, right now. Then we have Lysander here. He used to be one of the best bleed damage dealers as well. You kind of see a trend here, right? But that's because they slowly kind of power crept the bleed damage dealers, right? They went like Nitroll was one of the best. Then Narc, Lysander, all of those Alysia came out, and it was kind of like a small step. And then we just had a huge power gap in Morriz, who kind of quadrupled the damage of the bleed damage dealers. So yeah, power creeping at its finest. But Lysander is pretty good. You can still use him in Liuli boss if you don't have any other like stealth. If you don't have Morriz or Lance and you need some stealth, then you can use him in the Liuli boss. I think he's very nice still, but I think he is very niche. Probably not used in faction app, is not used in PvP, so I'm actually gonna put him at the B tier here. Now we have Nitroll, and it's a shame to see the Bleed King has fallen. He used to be my Guild Boss 6 like boss killer when I started like 2 years ago. He was one of the best in the game to do damage on the guild boss and help me get my daily rewards. He used to be so strong, but right now he is dead and gone, and they would need to rework him a lot to make him work. I'm gonna put him at B tier. I don't think he's any better than any of these heroes up here. He's pretty much the same as those. Then we have the 2 new heroes here. These are the 2 newest bleed attack heroes here. And let's just start in order here. So we're gonna go with Elise first, and Elise is very nice, the like support type hero. She reduces dot damage taken on the team. She can be used in PvP and she can be used in PvE as well, especially for the resonance, because she's a bleed tag, sorry, but she's also a resonance tag. So she actually works for 2 factions, and the same for Raina, who we're going to talk about in a second. But I'm gonna put her at S tier, and the reason is that she's actually used in PvP as well. and she reduces dot damage, and she can be fit into a 5-man team, and she's very good for resonance team. I know this is a bleed tier list, so but she's also very nice for bleed support teams, early game, mid game. If you get her, you can reduce a lot of damage from bosses and stuff like that. You can use her in dungeons, and you can use her in other places to reduce damage taken, especially like Elemental City, stuff like that, Cloister, if you're doing that. I think S tier for her is just very nice. And then we have the last one, Raina here. I love Raina here. She looks fantastic in game. She has an also shielding ability. She has a cold debuff. She got a lot of fun stuff going on. And she can be used in PvP and PvE. I would probably use her in a 5-man team for sure. And for PvE, she is just very nice for the bleed team. She'll make you able to survive longer, and also very nice for faction abuse. And if you get her early game, you can even use her in dungeons, I think, to kind of shield buff your team. I'm gonna put her at S tier here. I think these two new guys here are very, very nice. So there you have it, guys. That is the bleed tier list that I think as of December 2024. This is how it looks in my eyes on the tier list. So at the top, of course, the two kings, Morriz and the queen and the king, Morriz and Lance, and then we have the two new heroes, and then the list goes down from that. I think this is a fair list, and I'm sorry to see Lukia obviously at B tier, but that is where she is at the moment, unless they really give her something great for her exclusive 4. I don't see her being used anywhere. Alright guys, have a nice evening, cheers, bye.